Today we have with us Jennifer Estevez, the co-founder and director of business development at Pallet Club, as well as the CEO and founder of Om Vino. She will give us an insider's view on the arena and speak to the topic, Sips and Stirs, Taste Inspiration for Beverage Innovation. The stage is yours. Please welcome Jennifer.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to talk to you today about Sips and Stirs, Taste Inspiration for Beverage Innovation. Just a little bit of background about myself before we go into the nitty-gritty of what we're going to be talking about today. I am really excited to talk to you about this because my whole background and my professional life has really been tied into hospitality. It's really the industry that I grew up in. And beverage has been such an integral part of that. So I moved out to San Francisco when I was 21 to pursue my sommelier certifications after learning about the wonderful world of beverage at the Ritz-Carlton out in Arizona where I worked as a summer job. And it's led me through sitting for my advanced sommelier exam, sitting for my master sommelier exam a few times, which is a very challenging test. I attempted that while starting my two companies, Om Vino and Pallet Club, and definitely took on a lot there, but it was exciting and a great learning experience. And so Pallet Club's an online wine club app, and we offer a subscription wine club, and it's really based on taste technology, so really exciting and something I think is a huge part of taste innovation. Om Vino is a marketing communications agency, and we specialize in working with food and beverage brands, specifically high-end wineries and food and beverage startups. We work with spirits brands, et cetera, before. So when I'm talking about taste inspiration, I want to dive into first the interesting innovations and changes that happened during 2020. 2020 for the food and beverage industry was just such a challenging time on so many levels. The beverage industry was really changed, the food industry of course as well, but restaurants were so hard hit, and the beverage industry changed quite a bit. And so we had to make many innovations during this time for companies to be able to reach consumers in a new way. And so for me, looking at things from the background that I have, working in hospitality and coming from a marketing background as well, understanding what innovation looks like in the beverage industry really starts with understanding trends, identifying needs, and then taking action, which so many businesses had to do last year. When I look at all the trends and all the new products that I've been exposed to over the last while as a marketing professional, and also I do business advisory, there are so many different options coming up and so many different products coming up around sustainability and ethics, health, and convenience. I think that innovation in these categories will be really crucial in shaping what tastes and what profiles and what products we're coming out with in the future. Everything needs to taste good, it needs to be convenient, it needs to be healthy, sustainable, and ethical. So how does taste tie into convenience? I think that taste ties into convenience in quite a few ways. First of all, there's a huge element of personalization that we needed to integrate during COVID because nobody was allowed to meet face-to-face. And personalization and understanding your customer when you were thousands of miles away became more and more important than ever. And so there are many taste matching technologies out there and many platforms that say that they are able to understand consumer taste through XYZ. But speaking of things from the aspect of the beverage industry, as a wine professional, as somebody who has experience in the spirits industry, many of these personalization elements in food or in beverage businesses fall short. So I want to use Pallet Club as an example. Pallet Club has incredibly high user retention for their app and for their algorithm because the consumer tastes and the profiles of the products that we have in our portfolio are meshed together. We basically use consumer profiles along with bottle profiles to send consumers what they like. And we do that, and our user retention is really incredible because there's a link and an understanding of the link between the consumer and the product. Now, this is what I think a lot of these other taste matching technologies are missing. I see like Vivino, for example. Vivino is a great product. They understand the consumer preferences, but they don't understand how to tie that into a product. They're basically crowdsourcing, what people leave in their ratings on these different bottles and trying to tie it into a score. That's not relevant. I was looking through their app and I was speaking with their CEO, and they have bottles of great old Grand Cru Burgundy, which if you're a wine lover, that's the good stuff, that were rated 3 stars. Best vintage, best producer. It's just not relevant. So they're understanding what the consumer wants, but not connecting it to the product. So what's really important is a lot of these products, we can learn from other industries. We can learn from fashion. A lot of these online subscription services do really well in the fashion industry, understanding what people like and why based on what clothes they purchased. Now we need to bring that home into wine and spirits, and we're working on that. With Palette Club, we're also creating a different variety of just subsets of our algorithm to help with other items within food and beverage, like chocolate, coffee, tea, and many other companies are attempting this right now. And so a lot of these other companies are really great, again, at understanding what the bottle profile is or what the spirits profile is, and now the need to bring that home and tie it more into the consumer taste is going to become more and more relevant. It's just something that even though we are meeting in person again, that personalization aspect and that convenience just isn't going anywhere. So moving on. For delivery and D2C, again, that ties into the personalization, but we just got used to having everything delivered to our doors. Specifically for restaurants and for wineries, restaurants had to really shift their models. It was incredible to see how creative people got out of need and necessity towards bringing people, cocktails, bottled cocktails in their home. As long as state liquor laws are able to continue to be flexible in the wake of the pandemic, which some states are, I think that's going to be a continued trend. Why weren't we doing delivery beverage? I mean, other than potentially, underage drinking, things of that nature, it really is supportive of the restaurants in general to have these bigger alternative revenue streams. So I think that's something where people will continue to build and look for more ways to find, at-home delivery experiences that can be really exciting. And D2C for wineries, I think is also something that grew exponentially. For me, again, a lot of the clients that I work with outside of startups are wineries, high-end wineries specifically. How are they going to engage their customers when they don't have tasting room visits? Well, they tapped into digital marketing and they prioritized direct-to-consumer sales. And that was really a way for them to build that aspect. They prioritized building their mailing list, they prioritized building their clubs, and it ended up being something that was really successful for a lot of them. A lot of wineries who didn't do that suffered because they had a lot of their sales tied into restaurants and retail, and retail was doing well, but still it's a crowded market. So moving forward, that ties into the next thing. How do you keep people engaged through delivery and D2C? You have online events, which online events, we've all gotten used to our everyday Zoom calls and meetings over whatever different app it is. But I think that online events, in a way, are here to stay. And so that really changes the way that people are engaging with beverage. Even though I think that the frequency of online events is going to go down, of course, because we're meeting in person, I think that it's going to be a 50-50 split because there's some serious benefits to meeting online rather than meeting in person. For big conventions like this, this is great. This is a great networking opportunity. But let's say for a core group of executives like IBM, we've done events for them which are online, right? And they want to still have that C-suite level executive experience, but they want to have nice products. They want to have an integrative experience. It's really exciting to see that. And also, I think that having these online experiences, these digital events, supports these brands, food and beverage brands. It supports wineries, it supports spirits brands. They get to get their product in front of these bigger companies, and people are more open to having these types of experiences. So next, let's talk about health. During the pandemic, I saw a lot of my friends either getting really fit, getting core and lean, working on their six-pack, or I saw them drinking vodka and doing push-ups. So there was a lot of drinking going on, and it was very split for me. But in the end, a lot of people, after spending a lot of time with themselves, began to focus more on health. And I think that that's really important. So we all needed a chill pill in 2020, and a lot of new CBD brands came out and began to be more mainstream. and it began to be more accessible in many different markets. And so CBD beverages specifically are really great. If you've ever tried those Revive tonics or the Eve, the Vibes, the Y Vibes, fantastic. There's so many more alternatives coming out now that also include other items that are wellness and balance enhancing, such as ashwagandha or whatever else it is, like lion's mane, and just many other products that are Ayurvedic and helpful for mental clarity. So I think, again, during a stressful time, we learned how helpful those things were, and I just don't think people are going to forget that. And it's going to continue to be something that we see not only in non-alcoholic beverages, but alcoholic beverages as well. People are taking a little bit of that hippie into their cocktails. I've seen some really great CBD beverages in a lot of major cities like New York, San Francisco. I've had CBD martinis. It's been really fun. So. Another thing that I have also seen as a trend is restorative ingredients, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about in terms of the CBD and wellness promoting ingredients. Restorative ingredients like turmeric, ginger, chicory, there's a lot of things happening in that space. And again, it's not just alcoholic beverages, it's non-alcoholic beverages, and it really goes hand in hand. There's a lot of cocktails, there's a lot of, just tonics that are including ginger, turmeric, chicory. I even have a wine brand in my portfolio that includes, turmeric and lemon peel and chicory in their wine blend. And of course, for me as a wine professional, I was very skeptical of this, of course. I was like, what is that gonna taste like? Is this like a vermouth? But it's actually quite delicious, and the way that they do it, it's really, you can't taste those additives, but you get all the benefits, including the antioxidants and the anti-inflammatory properties from them. And you wake up feeling a lot better the next day than you do in general with a lot of other wine brands. So people, again, are just looking towards their products to be more restorative than they were before. Plant-based is also big. We talked about this yesterday in the ethical investing panel, and I just think that plant-based is bleeding into everything, or not bleeding into everything. It's really important that we are prioritizing, shifting to plant-based alternatives in traditional cocktails and traditional beverages. And you'll see this in canned coffee drinks. There's a lot more alternatives on the market that include almond milk, oat milk, things of that nature than there ever were before. And even in cocktails, you're seeing these as substitutes. You're seeing substitutes for egg whites in traditional cocktails, just because it makes it more convenient and it makes it more, allergy friendly. People don't have to ask about these things as well. And then last but not least, again, tying back into what we were talking about before, low ABV or no ABV, we're definitely trending. Well, some people were going hard during quarantine. A lot of people were also thinking about their health and experimenting with non-alcoholic liquors. Like seed lip gin is pretty cool if you've ever tried that. And it's a really good way to make people who are not specifically interested in drinking, taking a break, whatever, or sober curious, as they call it. It's a really good way to give them a similar experience to drinkers. And not only are these making their way into more bar programs, but they're also making their way, both non-alcoholic and alcoholic or low ABV cocktails, they're making their way into can forms, all kinds of things of that nature. And so last but not least, moving into sustainability and ethics. Sustainability is so important in everything that we are doing. Sustainability, again, we just need to prioritize that as becoming a part of the food and beverage experience. Food and beverage is a part of our everyday life. We eat, we drink, we do all these things every day. And so making that sustainable is really crucial to whatever we want to do in the future. So with that said, local flavors are something that is becoming a trending item. People are looking to incorporate flavors from the surrounding area. They're looking to incorporate, let's say bay laurel if you live in San Francisco. That's a really fun ingredient that you don't see other places. It's something that, is specific to localities because people are additionally buying local. When we were stuck at home and we were engaging online, we were engaging with the world at large, but we were also seeing everything around us kind of in a new light, seeing our local purveyors, seeing our local stores, et cetera, and seeing, what they were offering for the first time. And a lot of these people were including local ingredients along with exotic spins on, traditional cocktails. And it was really great to see that. Sourcing local flavors can mean anything. It can mean using like something that's specific to a region, foraging for those flavors, foraging for those ingredients. It was really fun to see people get, into that a lot more. I mean, there were people who were just going out and foraging mushrooms, including them in cocktails and things of that nature out in Oregon and San Francisco. It was really great to see that. And so again, buying local and supporting local businesses, it minimizes your carbon footprint. It helps entrepreneurs, communities, businesses, and individuals grow. And so I think that digital events tie into this because while people were unemployed, a lot of the people who work in the food and beverage industry were creating these events where they were, using local ingredients and then sending them out to people at large, sending them out to their communities or relying on their communities to give them support because, quite honestly, the government wasn't doing that in a way that was really effective for the food and beverage industry, especially for those of you who work in restaurants. You know exactly what I mean. It was just really challenging to see some people in the food and beverage industry not being able to get the support they need. And a lot of them turned to entrepreneurship, and a lot of them are not coming back too. So they're putting their products out, whether it's their new cheese brand that they created or their new cocktail brand that they created, and they're working on doing that and using their local community to purchase. And so that's a big trend. And that ties into purchasing with purpose. Who you are, what you support is as important as the product. Specifically in beverage, there's been so many more cause-driven wine and spirits brands that are donating to, nonprofits, brands that are, creating nonprofits, brands that are nonprofits, whatever it is. That's been a huge trend in, just creating that ethical ecosystem around beverages as much as that is around other industries. We noticed some serious instabilities and some serious lack of sustainability in the beverage industry, internally, sourcing-wise, over the last year. And I think that now that whole weakness has been brought to light, I think there are going to be a lot more people who are really, truly paying attention to, what they are consuming or, how they are engaging with the beverage industry. There's been many chefs and many people have been called out on, inappropriate behavior. And so ethics and all of that also ties into sustainability. People are paying attention. And so we have to prioritize that and thinking about innovation. So what does the future hold for the beverage industry? In 2021 and beyond, I really think that the continued trends are going to be around continued delicious, mindful consumption. All these trends are here to stay. The question is, how do we continue to innovate products that are matched to consumer tastes that are mindfully made, healthy, convenient, sustainable, ethical, and above all, enjoyable? All right, that's what I have today. Thank you so much, everybody. I'd love to hear your questions. I can barely see with these lights, so if you have a question, I'm going to defer to the gentleman with the microphone.
So you're mentioning CBD. Are you seeing any cross-contamination or cross with CBD and wine?
That's still a really tricky subject. It's really hard to get any sort of cannabis or CBD products into an alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
I've seen alcoholic alcoholic wines with, flavorings of cannabis, which was not a successful thing or a successful pitch for me personally. Without the psychoactive effects of CBD or cannabis, I'm like, why? But I have seen some de-alcoholized wines with cannabis. There's one called Canna Wine, which is really interesting. But there's just a really tricky kind of overlap between those two legal systems that I think will prevent that for a bit longer. But yeah, hopefully soon. Cool. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much, everyone.